I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the next reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Roadhouse is over. I used to friend guys like you in prison.
I don't know if I've heard that type of bleeping before.
I did. I bleeped myself. But it was very good. That is a weird line for a macho dude to use on another dude in a movie like this. Weird line.
It's
progressive.
It's as clearly also like a frightening threat. Like, it's like, okay,
yeah,
I know what sort of person you are.
First we're going to fight and then other things, depending on who wins. Here we are. We're talking about Roadhouse 1989. Where does this movie live in your history of movies?
Well, it's funny. Like, this was a film I'm pretty sure I saw. Like, this and Next of Kin were like right around the same time, and they were movies that I saw, and I really kind of didn't think much about either of them since, which was weird to me. And then when the remake came out, I'm like, I should watch Roadhouse again. And I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't, it's like, not great or anything, but it was a lot of fun. And then I rewatched it for this, and I'm like, what was I thinking? This movie freaking rocks. Like, I had so much fun. I was like laughing out loud. Like, it was just a riot from start to finish. So I ended up having a great old time with it. So it's a film I think that has kind of like grown in my estimation over the years. And now now I want to go back and revisit a number of those other Patrick Swayze movies from the era and just see if they hold up as well.
Yeah. You just described my experience with it too. Like, I didn't give it much thought and I had a blast. I don't think I gave it much thought. And then, I think Chrissy did it on the Most Excellent 80s show, and we've kind of been, it's been rising up in prominence. And then, like you said, the remake, I watched the remake and I didn't think much of it at the time, but I'll tell you, I watched a little bit of it right after this and I liked it a lot more than I remembered first time around. So these Roadhouse movies, they've got something, and I think, in this one specifically, Patrick Swayze's charisma and the way his character is presented, and all of the tropes and stereotypes of the era and of the culture are just right at play. It plays the hits really, really well. I had a blast with this movie. I had a blast.
Well, and it's just like, you mentioned Patrick Swayze, but it's hard to forget like how much charisma this guy was like oozing off the screen in this period of like the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, Red Dawn was a little earlier, obviously, and they were playing younger, but then you get to like Dirty Dancing, and there's a lot of other movies in this mix, but like Dirty Dancing, Roadhouse, Next of Kin, Ghost, Point Break, like that's a pretty solid stretch of movies where he's just delivering some top box office draw, and it's fun to see him doing all this, and I don't know, you kind of forget how much on-screen presence that he carried, and then you come back and look at some of those films early in his career. I mean, even going back to stuff like The Outsiders, and you're just like, it's clear that this guy was going to be a star. There's just so much on screen that you can just read with him. I mean, it's fantastic to watch. And this is a great way to kind of play that tough character that, he would do it so well, where it's like a tough character, but has this like Zen way about him. And that's something that I think works really well for what Swayze does.
Yeah, the Zen way, but also the reputation that precedes him trope, right? That people are scared of him because of what they've heard of him, and we don't necessarily know if any of that is true. In the pre-show, I mentioned The Rundown, and that's exactly the opposite. Here's a guy who is objectively terrifying, but has no reputation when he goes to beat those guys up in the football players. That's very different for Dalton. Like, people, when they hear the name Dalton, it's like the world goes quiet and wind blows. A single tumbleweed blows through the roadhouse, and I think that's that's one of the things that makes this trope so good, because he's a fit guy, but that is, they keep saying over and over, I thought you'd be bigger. I did too. Like, I remember Patrick Swayze as being bigger, and I think we're so adjusted to the Dwayne Johnson size that it's easy to forget that Patrick Swayze was just an incredibly fit guy. He was not huge. He was not obscenely massive. Even next to a lot of other guys in this movie. And he still held his own by reputation and sinister looks and patience and kindness. And it's great.
Yeah. Well, and I think that plays into what we see with the character. I mean, he was practicing Tai Chi. We kind of get this sense from him that he's always working to find that inner peace, and whatever that may mean. We get a sense that there was this dark story in his life. Something terrible had happened back in Memphis. It's always hinted at. It's never quite spelled out, which I really like, the fact that there's this dark backstory that we're just getting pieces of, and that we're kind of piecing together what we think must have happened. But to the point where, like, when you're hearing those things, like, man, I heard he tore a guy's throat out. And then later in the film, he tears a guy's throat out. It's like, you're like, okay, so when he said that, it sounded like just the sort of mythos that had been created about Dalton, that people were kind of whispering when they heard his name. And then you're like, oh, maybe he really did do that. Like, maybe all of the stuff that you hear is true. And I thought that was an interesting way to kind of play this character where, I mean, as he says, like, be nice until it's time to not be nice. Like, it's a perfect way to kind of paint this bouncer character who works at coming in and cleaning up these places that are having these serious issues with, you know, violent, belligerent drunkards. And that attitude that he creates is like the perfect way to kind of counter all of that. And it just plays. It plays perfectly.
One of the things that I like about characters like this, sort of are troped out like this, are when you get a character who is an exercise in sort of masculinity, and he the entire movie, he does not express fear, right? From the very beginning of the movie, when he goes into the bar that he's hired to clean up, he just stands there and watches a fight break out and doesn't get involved. He just witnesses. He never shows any sort of anxiety or fear, even when he later in the film, when he's up against the bigger and bigger boss fights. He's not scared. He loses control because he loses his patience and calm, and people get hits in on him, but he doesn't. He never comes away as succumbing to his own fear. And that's one of the reasons this character, I think, is so appealing, because it's aspirational in the way this guy is able to relate with the world in the space of comfort. He's so comfortable all the time. And I find that really appealing. It's very charming.
Yeah, well, and I feel like that in so many ways is the sort of personality that Patrick Swayze just exudes, right? Like, he just has that sense about him. Like, even when he's the surf and bank robber in Point Break, it's that same sort of mentality that he has. And I just think that's something that these filmmakers smartly tapped into by casting Swayze in these roles. Just this easygoing charm, but who also is really tough when he needs to be.
So there's a line in the movie. I'm checking you. I'm checking your experience in bars like these. He says to his staff, "You're the bouncers, I'm the cooler." Do you know what the difference is between a cooler and a bouncer?
Well,
the education moment of the podcast.
Yeah, he said that, and my brain immediately went to the movie The Cooler, and also just in casinos, The Cooler, who is a person who's generally somebody that they bring in when somebody's really hot at a table, somebody to kind of break that heat and kind of like cool things down so the person, doesn't end up winning as much. that's my sense of the cooler is more in a casino related setting. So in the bar, I'm guessing it's a similar sort of thing, like somebody who just is there to kind of like create that cooler, calmer tone in these tense situations.
Well, you're very close, very close. The bouncers, multiples, are the frontline enforcers, right? They check IDs at the door, they break up fights, they throw out people who are unruly. They enforce the rules of the establishment and maintain order, right? There are a bunch of them. They're typically the muscle. They're reactive rather than strategic. There's people write a lot about bouncers and coolers on, the internet. Their job is what they say is direct and physical. The cooler is the manager of the bouncers. They are typically a seasoned professional. They coordinate the bouncer team. They set the tone for how conflict is handled. They de-escalate situations before they turn violent. They balance hospitality with authority. They're expected to be cool under pressure, hence the name. You got that right out of the park. They using a combination of psychology, authority, and experience to keep the peace. They're the philosopher warrior, while the bouncers are the foot soldiers. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like they wrote that after watching this movie. They said, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why they bring him in. And they bring him in not as a thug to just, make people scared to come in and raise a fight. He comes in to train the bouncers, to fire people, to run the bar. And that's one of his conditions is I'm in charge of everything in the bar. When the bar is open, I'm doing it. Right. And so that's the short, pithy way to remember it as a bouncer removes trouble, a cooler prevents it. And that's what we have here.
That's really interesting because I feel like I've seen plenty of bouncers at bars when I have gone to bars, but I don't feel like I've ever noticed the cooler. And I think that that's interesting because they're likely there, but just, they've never been, I've never been in a bar that's ended up having a big bar fight. So they've just never been needed, I guess, but it's an interesting element that I suppose is just always there, and you just don't even realize it until it's needed.
That's so funny. I've also never been in a fight in a bar. I've never been in a bar that had a fight. The only eating establishment fight I've ever witnessed was in a Denny's at midnight, and two people got in a fight, and they crashed down on our table, and then kept fighting all the way down the thing, and it was low-key terrifying.
Wow! A Denny's,
that's the only time
at midnight
at a Denny's.
Were they fighting over who's going to pay for the moon over my hammy?
Like, why is it? When does Denny's need a cooler? They need a cooler. It turns out.
Clearly. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Funny. All right. Meanwhile, back at the Roadhouse.
Yeah. So Rowdy Herrington directed this. Is he a director you have seen much of other than this film? No,
I would say the name was reasonably new to me. I even his top 4 on IMDb. The one that I've seen was Repo Man, and he was in the camera and electrical department.
Yeah, he was a grip on that one, right?
Yeah. So I did not. I don't know much about him. What's your relationship to Rowdy?
I mean, like you, the most I've seen of Rowdy's work is when he was in the grip and electric department, which is where he started. And it kind of excites me to see that somebody who started in G&E, from the late 70s, he was doing stuff like HOTS, Humanoids from the Deep, Repo Man, Maria's Letters, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, he was really kind of doing like all of the different G&E roles. And then he ended up having the opportunity to make something that he had written, and that was Jack's Back, which was his first film in 1988, which is a mystery thriller with James Spader, and it did well enough to give him a chance to make more films. And he hasn't had a robust career. It looks like 9 films or so is what he's written and or directed. The ones that I probably know the most of are Roadhouse, and then his immediate couple follow-ups with Gladiator, not obviously the Ridley Scott version, but this was the boxing one with Cuba Gooding Jr. and James Marshall. And then after that, he did the Bruce Willis movie Striking Distance. So that's largely my experience with him, even though he's been doing stuff all the way up, through 2004. And then there's a movie that he's written that is apparently in production, or it's gearing up, and it's called Blood Knot. He wrote it with Zach Dean. Michael Douglas is in it. It's going to be directed by Roberto Schneider. So we shall see.
I have seen the Striking Distance. I hadn't made that connection. I just had the trailer running. I've absolutely seen Striking Distance. Sarah Jessica Parker and Dennis Farina. Yeah. But those are the only two, and I did not make the connection that he was behind them. So this is you'd call Roadhouse a cult favorite now, would you?
Absolutely, especially because at the time it came out, it did well for itself. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but critics really panned it. And over time, it's just been kind of reassessed and praised as kind of a classic. I think a lot of people would say that this is a film that they really love.
How do you feel this movie reinterprets the classic Western? Like, we talked about some Westerns and the tropes of Westerns in our pre-show this morning. And this movie shares a lot of those tropes. How do you feel like it does? And what is the value, I think, of making it a movie like this?
That's an interesting thing to look at, because you're definitely looking at kind of the roadside bar, which definitely feels of a piece to the
Saloon.
Old West. Yeah, you've got the loner who kind of is brought in and everything. It's interesting because I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective before, but you could see this exact story being reworked to something in the Old West. Like I had brought up in our member pre-show chat, another movie with a bar fight, Shane. That's another film with a new figure in town, kind of a loner who ends up saying, I'm going to help all these homesteaders, keep them, save them from this terrible cattle baron who's trying to take all of their land and everything. Very similar story that we have here, where you've got this rich kind of 1%er in Ben Gazzara, who's essentially trying to buy up the whole town. And
corrupt land baron, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the exact same figure, and you've got this lone figure, Patrick Swayze's character Dalton, who comes into town and works to clean up the place, and it plays exactly like that, and I think it's a perfect reference for it, because you can see it pulling from that same type of Western type of story.
You really can. And honestly, it's even Seven Samurai adjacent, right? Like many of the tropes of the wandering Ronin coming to town to save, or to clean things up with honor and dignity. And in the offing, we find the doctor in this movie who becomes the damsel, or the sort of anchor for our hero character. I think it really is it's a lovely little Western that reframes the West in late 80s sensibilities, which I think that's the part that makes it funny. But it really is a very simple kind of old school genre film. And, it's Stagecoach, it's High Noon. It's a film about the honor of the traveler coming to the aid of those who need it.
Yeah, it works really well. It's interesting because we do get the setup with the locals that we meet who end up having issues with this particular land baron. That plays well. I don't think Emmett, where Dalton ends up kind of renting the room from at his farm, he's not necessarily somebody who's running into issues, but certainly his place still gets blown up by the bad guy. You've got them, as we find out from Red, they are stealing 10% of everything that he makes at his car parts store, and then later they blow it up because he's friendly with Dalton, and of course Dalton is also happens to be kind of dating his daughter, the doctor. And so you're kind of getting these stories. So Red's place is blown up. Later, in a fantastic bit, they take a monster truck and drive it through the car dealership, destroying all of his cars because, again, they say he's not paying. Like, they're doing all of this specifically to, I mean, by this point, you are starting to get a sense that they're pissed off at what Dalton is doing at the Double Deuce, and they see this as their way to maintain their position by being extra terrible to everybody else in town, as a way to kind of slowly start, like, if everybody else ends up leaving, then is Kevin Teague, as the owner of the Double Deuce, is he going to stick around if everyone else has sold their land and gotten out of here? It plays perfectly into all of those tropes. Like you said, it's a perfect example of this type of genre film, and it just delivers because it sets up all of these great characters.
So speaking of great characters, Ben Gazzara as our evil landowner.
Brad Wesley.
Like I think what he does so well is he portrays the charm when we first meet him, and he's sort of unbelievably bad by the end of the movie, to the point where I don't want to believe he has that much bad in his sort of diminutive frame. He's not a huge guy. He just has so many thugs around him to do his bidding. And I'm sort of here for that conflict, that I never quite believe he's as bad as he's portraying. How does he hit you?
I think it's a fun role for him. I think, Gazzara's got a great face. Yeah. He's got a great face for this type of character. And like, he plays really well into the guy who just thinks he can get away with anything. Like, he just plays it tough. He's got all of these, he's surrounded himself with all of these toughs, whether they're idiots or not. They're tough people who can usually get him what he wants. I mean, he's got the hot girl that he's always hanging out with and abusing. Like, he just buys whatever he wants, and he thinks that that's his way through life. And coming up against somebody like Dalton is a little bit of a surprise because he keeps taking out his men. And I think for me, it built in a way where I could buy it, where at that last fight, I mean, we already had been told that he essentially owned the judges, he owned the cops, he owned everybody in town. So it wasn't really going to matter what he ended up doing here. And so it was kind of no surprise that he ends up trying to take Dalton down. And he can argue that Dalton was breaking and entering. And so, I mean, he can totally get away with all of it if Dalton ended up getting killed. That's what I think was so interesting. And so I buy into the fact that he's trying to take him at that point. And I love that fight where he's just like, I thought it'd be a lot more fun to fight you, but I just want to get it over with now. And just like pulls out his gun. He's just like, no, this hurts too much. Like, it was like exactly what he should say. It was great.
Yeah. There's a bit of his authoritarian capitalism in the microcosm of this town. Like, he's the biggest fish in this small, fishbowl. And I feel like his ability to kind of weaponize that nostalgia is on full display. And it's actually really well written. It's deceivingly well written as an evildoer character. He's representative of the evils of authoritarianism, of capitalism, of all of this stuff in a way that's much more authentic and maybe more believable today than it was when it came out. And so in that regard, it's aged really, really well.
Yeah, like when he flies into his place on his helicopter, like he purposefully buzzes Emmett's place just to piss Emmett off, just to scare his horses and piss him off. Like,
Yeah.
I totally buy all of that. Like that's just the way that this sort of character behaves. They think that they can, they're better than everyone else and can do what they want and get away with it.
And perfectly opposite Dalton's Tai Chi cowboy gestalt.
Exactly.
Right. It's really well positioned.
And what was interesting is, we see that Dalton, when he goes to the hospital to get taken care of, Dr. Clay, they, of course, at Kelly Lynch, they end up clicking. They end up kind of like starting a relationship. And we find out that she had a previous relationship with Brad Wesley. And it's like, okay, so now we've kind of created this love triangle and this is one of the reasons that I think that Wesley is so pissed off at Dalton, is because not only is he here cleaning up the bar and not letting him get away with what he always got away with, now he also has his girl.
Yeah. Speaking of Kelly Lynch, can we talk just a bit about Kelly Lynch?
Kelly Lynch, yes.
So Brian, bless you, Brian, sent me this article this morning. It's Kelly Lynch talking about some of her other work, and she does talk about some Roadhouse in there. And I would like to read a passage, if you will indulge me.
Sure.
By the way, this is me as Kelly Lynch. By the way, speaking of Bill Murray, every time Roadhouse is on and he or one of his idiot brothers are watching TV, and they're always watching TV, one of them calls my husband and says, in a reasonable approximation of Carl Spackler, "Kelly's having sex with Patrick Swayze right now. They're doing it. He's throwing her against the rocks." What? Oh my God. Mitch was just walking out the door to the set, and he said that Bill once called him from Russia. The interviewer says, "Sorry, not to dwell on this, but you said that Bill Murray, quote, or one of his idiot brothers will call." Which brothers are we talking about, Kelly Lynch? All of them. Joel has called. Brian Doyle has called. They will all call. Any and all of them. This was already an awesome story, but now it's even better. I know, right? I dread it. If I know it's coming on, and I can tell when it's coming on because it blows up on Twitter when it is, I'm just like, oh my God. And God help me when AMC's doing their Roadhouse marathon, because I know the phone is just going to keep ringing. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 in the morning. "Hi, Kelly's having sex with Patrick Swayze right now."
I think that it's important to just note that this isn't some obscure thing that Bill Murray and his brothers decided to do. They know her husband.
Oh, yes.
Mitch wrote Scrooged. He worked on Saturday Night Live. He was the writer behind A Very Merry Christmas. So he's very much like
they're all friends for sure.
There's a reason that it's not just some strange actor that they've never met before suddenly calling up just to do that. Just to clarify.
That would be an awesome flex, but it also is something that I would believe Bill Murray would do.
Well, it's like the French fry story.
Right. It's the French fry story. Yeah. So I think that is just a wonderful thing. And you know what, Andy? I don't call your wife enough with stuff about you. So I'm just workshopping some ideas. You'll know it when it happens.
God help us all.
Yeah. Annette Bening, she also says, Annette Bening was fired from this movie. Annette Bening was supposed to be Doc before she was replaced. And,
apparently had no chemistry with Patrick Swayze.
How do you not have chemistry with Patrick? She can have chemistry with Warren Beatty, and she can't find chemistry with Patrick Swayze?
That's okay. I love Kelly Lynch in the part. She's great.
I know, me too.
She's great as the doctor, and I enjoy their relationship.
He's great. It's a bit of a it's not a great part, but she's great in it, and I think she the word is she had to do it because she had a 2-picture deal with Universal or with United Artists at the time, and Joel Silver said, I really want you to do this, and also. You have to do this because you have a 2-picture deal with us. So you can say no, but I want you to do it. And it's going to be really ugly if you say no. And so she said, sure. That's where we are. That's where we are. Yeah. This is some interesting stuff in it because she was just coming off of Drugstore Cowboy and the way he pitched it, his quote, "I promise you that this will be the best drive-in movie ever made."
Huh. Okay.
I mean,
I can kind of
he's
see
right.
that actually. Yeah.
He's
right.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Interesting.
was fun. Yeah.
She's one of those faces from there weren't many movies I saw from her in the 80s, but like with Bright Lights, Big City, Cocktail, this Drugstore Cowboy, like there was just a run of movies. I mean, even into the 90s when she was in stuff like Virtuosity, like she was just in a lot of stuff. And she's somebody who's just been busy in film and TV projects. Like she's been in lots of stuff. She was in the TV show Fatherhood for a lot of episodes. So just somebody who's kept very busy in all the work that she's doing.
And how about our man, Sam Elliott?
Oh yeah. God love having Sam Elliott in the film. I love the friendship. I love the history that it feels like exists between Wade and Dalton and like their backstory. Like it's so fun seeing Sam Elliott when he shows up, or when Dalton first calls him and he happens to be working at the strip club, and then he has to go stop one of the army guys from from climbing up on stage. Like it's like he's got the perfect look for it, like the scruffy face, the long hair. Like I love, like, this is a great Sam Elliott role.
But no mustache.
Yeah, but he's got so much scruff that like it's great. I love him in this.
But I'll say it again. No mustache. What was the
Is
era?
that disappointing for you?
Yeah. God, what? Of course it's disappointing. Sam Elliott has a big bushy mustache. He doesn't have scruff. And so I'm looking at, like, what are some other movies where Sam Elliott was clean shaven? Blue River, 1995, was a TV movie. Good God. I don't even know. Is that Sam Elliott on the cover? Maybe. But maybe not, because no mustache. What other, I don't know. I've not seen enough movies without him to be used to it, and this freaked me out. I guess Hole in the Sky, he didn't have.
It would be different for me if he wasn't scruffy. Like if he was clean shaven, that I think would throw me more. But the fact that he is at least really scruffy, I just don't run into any issues with it.
Man, I don't care for your position on this. I just don't, I don't care for it. There was an era, let's just say there was an era in the early 90s where he was clean shaven for some of it. And it was, to this viewer's eye, inappropriate. I love him in this movie, even with the weird facial treatment. Wade Garrett is a great mentor character. He's a great Book of the Vampire. I just love his general, like you said, his general sort of mentor camaraderie, that he just shows up to beat people up as friends do, and has no problem with that. And, I just, he's the guy who will help you hide a body. Sam Elliott.
Yeah. No, I think he plays well. It's a great pairing. It's, it's tragic what ends up happening in the story, but it all works. It all plays well for our purposes here.
For sure.
I mean, it's a great cast. I love Kevin Teague. He's great in it. Keith David weirdly shows up as a bartender who has like one line, maybe, like he's hardly there.
Yeah.
And then I think we also just need to talk about Jeff Healey as Cody.
That was it.
And just the music that he ends up contributing to this film, which I think is as much a part of the film as just all of the stuff with Swayze. Just like having him as like the regular person playing at this bar, like what a smart decision to kind of craft it that way, because it lent such just a cool vibe to all of the stuff going on, having him just up there the whole time.
We just covered Sinners as we're recording this. It just came out this weekend, and
on the film board,
on the film board. And I've been thinking about a lot of the way that movie honors music as a part of it. And this is weirdly another movie that really honors the music.
Yeah.
by giving it to Jeff Healey and crew to be able to give us something that feels legit, that feels like this diegetic music feels totally appropriate to the craft of the bar scene, and I just love it. The other thing that goes right along with that I think you notice as a result of paying attention to Jeff Healey is the way the bar just sort of evolves from the rough and ready Roadhouse with the cage around the performers to a nice place. Like it changes over time,
Classier
and they
people showing up. Yeah.
they don't make a big deal about that at all. It's just like a new coat of paint here. The cage is down there. We never get like a ribbon cutting.
No, but it definitely feels that way. Like you start noticing it, and it just feels like this is Dalton doing his job.
Dalton's doing his job.
He's cleaned up the place. Kevin Teague has been able to spend a little money and kind of do the whole thing and give it like a nicer look and everything, new sign and everything. And yeah, it just, all of that plays well. And I like that Healey and his band, it doesn't change. Like you don't have one band who feels like, well, let's get a band that's playing kind of because it's so crappy. This is the only people we can get. Than to have like the classier, cooler band show up later. It's like, no, Kevin Healey is there the whole time, and he delivers, and it's just like, I don't know, that music that he's there to play, like it just felt like so appropriate.
Kevin Healey,
and the fact that he had like the relationship. Is that what I said?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Kevin Teague. I'm like saying all these names.
Yeah. Use so many names.
Yeah.
Healey Teague.
Yeah. But like he and his band, like it plays well to have them here. And I also like that he's clearly been around long enough to also have this past relationship with Dalton.
Yeah. Yeah, Dalton, again, that reputation precedes you trope is plays out everywhere. Not just people who fear him, but people who love him, people who know kind of the real him. And those are the people who are spreading that reputation, right? It's guys like Healey who are telling stories to other bouncers and to other bartenders that, oh, you've never seen it until you've seen Dalton do it, and that's at play. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's an interesting element there. We talked about the whole throat ripping out sequence when he's fighting with Jimmy Reno, but that also, like, this reputation that has preceded him, Dr. Clay has kind of heard about the stuff that's gone on and has this sense from talking to him and has seen all of his scars and his medical charts and everything. But she's there. She witnesses, like, the throat ripping out. And I thought that was actually an interesting element where it's like your reputation precedes you, but then you're also still creating your reputation continually. And here is a moment where he does this horrifically violent thing to stop this. I mean, Reno was pretty crazy to begin with. He was, ready to just brutalize him. And your opening line is one of the things that he randomly throws out. Like, clearly he is okay with torturing and abuse. And here he is, taking on Dalton, and Dalton stops him by literally ripping his throat out. It's like, dang, okay.
Yeah. Especially because Dalton's the one who says, hey, if you smash a guy's knee, doesn't matter how big he is, he'll fall like a stone.
Yeah.
You almost, like, that's an interesting way to handle callbacks, right? Because he's going to either smash a guy's knee or rip a throat out, because both of them of those have been Chekhoved earlier in the movie. And, once you put rip a throat out on the table, you kind of got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was brutal. Yeah. And it's interesting because that's the thing that also pushes Dr. Clay away from him. Like, she's just like, I don't want to be around somebody who does this sort of thing. And she leaves and she pushes him away. And I thought that was actually a smart moment to have, where Dalton has this recognition. I mean, he had created this relationship with her, but has this moment where it's just like, this is why I always leave town. This is why I always move on and end up in a different place, because I'm not designed to stay and have a relationship with somebody because of all of this. And also, we're getting the sense of whatever it was that had happened in his past leading to a loved one dying is kind of where I think we're meant to take all of that.
Yeah. This thing was written by R. Lance Hill or David Lee Henry, depending on what he's choosing to write under, I guess. We have talked about him
along with Hillary Henkin.
Along with Hillary Henkin,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
We have talked about him before. Yes. 8 Million Ways to Die.
Right.
What do you know? What do you think about the way this thing plays? It feels like he has written a number of movies that feel like the same sort of vibe. Like he's exercising a particular sort of demon in his writing.
Well, I think that he just, writes what he enjoys. And I feel like this is the sort of, these dark crime thrillers seem to be what he writes. And here, I think there's a lot more fun to be had with this particular film. But I mean, there is still some darkness that we're getting a sense of with all of this. Certainly it'll be interesting to talk more about him as we get to the remake, which we'll talk about next week. Because he sued the producers of that one, saying that they're using generative AI of the actors, and because of SAG-AFTRA, they're not allowed to do that, and all of this sort of stuff. And he had tried to get the copyrights of the original screenplay for this film reverted to himself. So it's interesting. I feel like he's very possessive of what he's crafted, and I don't know. Maybe it's because this film perhaps is the one that's, I don't know, is done the best. I mean, Out for Justice, the Seagal movie, certainly is something that has its own big following and everything. But I think that he's somebody who probably knows he can milk this particular story and has tried to do so.
I intentionally separated Hillary Henkin because Hillary Henkin has written some things that I think are outside of the space of this kind of brawl movie. I loved Wag the Dog, for example. Hillary Henkin behind that with Mamet and Larry Beinhardt. Those are, I mean, that's just, getting movies made are hard. And both of these people are in that kind of sweet spot of each having 8 or 9 movies that they have written or co-written that were made. And that's pretty cool. I don't see on either of them a thumbprint necessarily that feels like I know, who they are. I have not seen enough movies of each of theirs to be able to know, but you kind of get a sense just even from the titles.
Well, Romeo's Bleeding is definitely, and V for Vendetta, like both of those have, I mean, it's hard to say with V for Vendetta because it's based on other material, but Romeo is Bleeding for sure, like definitely feels like that was just her. And like some interesting characters in that film also. Good guys, bad guys, like that's a thing that I don't know. I can't say specifically because I don't know how much of Roadhouse she specifically worked on, but in both Romeo's Bleeding and in Roadhouse, there are some fantastic characters. So it's possible that is something that comes from Hillary.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else you got?
Well,
Music
Dean
is
Kundi,
great.
Yeah, the music's great. Obviously, Michael Kamen, though, did the score and is fantastic. But Dean Kundi is one of those DPs who just knows how to shoot films. Worked a lot with Robert Zemeckis on stuff, and I just think in a film that has kind of that bar neon sort of look, I just think that he captures the essence of it quite well. I mean, it looks like a lit Hollywood movie, but it still feels great. And then you've got like the sex scenes, and you've got Patrick Swayze oiled up doing Tai Chi outside, just sunlight glistening off his body. Like, Dean Kundi knows how to capture images that are going to appeal to, and that's something interesting with this movie, because my wife and I are watching this, and it's such a tough guy bar fight movie. But then then you've got like the women coming in, Brad Wesley's girl always looking like just she is ready to hop on the stripper stage. Like she's just always dressed that way. But then you have some scenes with, clear ogling moments designed to look at Patrick Swayze. And it's interesting, like they designed this film, I think, to allow for men and women to enjoy it.
Yes. It is titillating. It's fluidly titillating, I think is what we call that now. Yeah.
Is that an expression that everyone is saying?
We just did that. Yeah, we made that a thing.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah, that's about it.
Good?
We're good. So we'll be right back. But first, our credits.
Yeah, we're going to do credits.
You were the one who was ready to move on.
I was. Well, I was still looking for credits, tabs, credits. The next reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Alex Mastronardi, Asaf Ayalan, featuring Eli Schmaltz, Hey Judy, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm. And if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. All right.
This is you.
You ever look at your movie diary and think, well, shoot, I've seen a lot of movies, but what does it all mean? Friend, it's time you went pro. I'm talking Letterboxd Pro. With Pro, you get a beautiful personalized stats page that'll make you feel like the auteur of your own watch list. All-time stats, annual stats, pie charts, bar graphs, the kind of stuff Dalton might have stared at between Tai Chi lessons. You can even track which streaming services your films are on. Just plug in your faves from Just Watch and boom, Letterboxd will tell you when that obscure Finnish vampire western finally drops on Tubi. That's power. But there's more. See your friends' average ratings, filter your activity feed so you only see the good stuff, manage your tags, pin your favorite lists, duplicate that perfect movies where Patrick Swayze solves problems with kicks lists. You're not just watching movies now, you're curating a legacy. And because you're with The Next Reel, you get 20% off with code NEXTREEL. That's right, just head over to letterboxd.com/pro and treat yourself to the deluxe upgrade your cinematic soul deserves. Letterboxd Pro, friends, because it's not just a watch list, it's your story. That was my Sam Elliott.
I was going to say, thanks, Sam. Oh, man. That's fantastic. Good stuff.
All right. Sequels and remakes, Andy. I have seen only the remake, the Gyllenhaal. Is there more? Do I care about any of them?
Well, that's the only remake for sure. But as far as sequels, I mean, this is something that, spurred a franchise. Granted, it took time. In 2003, fans of this made an off-Broadway musical production that was very much kind of like a campy comedy. Timothy Haskell staged it. He directs theater and also directs immersive haunted houses. So an interesting little pairing. But yes, he made an off-Broadway musical of this. The full title of which, are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Roadhouse, the stage version of the cinema classic that starred Patrick Swayze, except this one stars Ty Mack from the 80s cult classic The Last Dragon wearing a blonde mullet wig.
Wait, that's the whole title?
That's the whole title. So yes, you can get that they're going a little camp with it. So
what do they do on understudy nights?
yeah, right. No kidding. Oh, and then in 2006, they ended up making a straight-to-DVD sequel of this, creatively just called Roadhouse 2. This actually, there's no characters from the original story. We're following Dalton's adult son, and there's only a few references to his dad over the course of it. And so that came out in 2006. You had little bits and pieces in shows like Family Guy. Interestingly, the New York City Police Department, after one of the horrific murders that they ended up essentially committing, they ended up using a scene of Roadhouse to retrain all of their officers, and it's the whole thing about being nice under pressure. That became mandatory watching for the New York City Police Department. Quite interesting.
And that shows to this day how well it worked.
Yeah, no kidding.
Andy, here's the thing I just have to add about Roadhouse 2. IMDb looked it up while it's here. The cover poster that they use, as you said, says Roadhouse 2. But the IMDb listing actually gives it a subtitle, Roadhouse 2 Last Call. Do you think that they did that after they made the movie? Like after the fact? I wonder what the opening credits say.
It might just be on the poster, because I'm also looking at one that said Roadhouse 2, like father, like son. So it could just be...
They just, every platform gets a different
subtitle. Exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Sheck is in it as the DEA agent who plays, he is the legendary son. So he's DEA agent Shane Tanner. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Well, who knows? Anyway, last but not least, of course, is the remake, which we will be talking about next week.
Mm-hmm. And how.
Yeah.
All right. Award season. It's time to talk about what kind of critical acclaim this movie gathered.
I mean, at the time, it was popular with fans, but not so much with the critics and everything. As I mentioned, it did get 5 nominations, though, but they're all Razzies. That's right. It was nominated for Worst Picture, but lost to Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. You're going to be seeing that one pop up a couple times. Patrick Swayze nominated for Worst Actor for both this and Next of Kin, which came out the same year. Lost to William Shatner in Star Trek V. Ben Gazzara was nominated for Worst Supporting Actor, but lost to Christopher Atkins in Listen to Me. I am not familiar with that one. Are you familiar with Listen to Me?
I don't have that one. Nope.
Or even Christopher Atkins. I have to look up who this is. Hold on.
There's a Cameron and Jamie Gertz.
Let's see. Christopher Atkins. Yeah. He was in stuff like The Blue Lagoon, the pirate movie, A Night in Heaven. But what was this movie that he was in? I have to see. Listen to Me.
A group of college debaters learn about the world, friendships, love, dreams, and family in this warm, endearing drama. Also starring Roy Scheider.
Wow. Oh. This was a period where Roy Scheider was in some stuff that it wasn't the 70s for him, I guess.
No, it was not, very much not the 70s.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anyway, Worst Director was nominated for Rowdy Herrington, but lost to William Shatner again. Last but not least, Worst Screenplay, but lost to Harlem Nights. So, ouch.
Nights.
I'd like to think that people would reevaluate over time and that this wouldn't end up getting any Razzie nominations.
Ugh. Yeah, it's totally holds up.
Yeah.
I had a blast watching it. I'm glad we got it on the show.
Skipping.
I'm skipping so much. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. And at the box office, Andy, how did it do? Did it make its money back?
Well, for his movie, Herrington had a budget of $15 million, or $38.3 million in today's dollars. The movie opened May 19th, 1989, opposite Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, as well as the limited releases of How I Got Into College, Fright Night Part 2, Miracle Mile, and For Queen and Country. This could not beat Indiana Jones, so opened in the number 2 spot. It went on to stay in the top 10 for 6 weeks and earned $30 million domestically and $31 million internationally for a total gross of $155.7 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute or just over That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of just over $1 million, making back more than 4 times its budget. Just going to show that there's nothing Swayze couldn't do.
That's the truth. That's the damn truth, friend. I had a blast. I'm so glad we talked about this movie. It absolutely holds up. And I was ready to come in guns a-blazing. I thought this is going to be ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'm glad that you said that because I didn't know that you were thinking that. I had so much fun with this one. Just more fun every time I rewatch it. It's just a blast of a movie. Easy watch. So definitely one I'll check out again.
Awesome.
Well, we'll be right back for our ratings, but first, here's the trailer for next week's movie, Doug Liman's remake of this movie. It's Roadhouse from 2024, starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
And you haven't watched any of it yet.
I've never seen it. I've yet to see this one at all.
Get ready for abs.
Okay. Hold on. Let me find my script here. Listen up, folks. I've got 3 rules when it comes to being a member of the Next Reel. 3 simple rules that'll ensure you get the most out of this incredible community. Rule number 1, never underestimate the value of a good film discussion. Just like I tell my boys at the Double Deuce, you've got to be ready for anything. And with the Next Reel's monthly bonus episodes and extra content in each regular episode, you'll be armed to the teeth with cinematic knowledge. Rule number 2, always be ready for action. When you're a member of the Next Reel, you've got to be on your toes. Early ad-free access means you'll be the first one through the door when a new episode drops. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on a single moment of the film analysis and lively discussion. Rule number 3, be nice. As a member of the Next Reel community, you're part of something special. A group of film lovers who share a passion for the movies, who come together to engage in thoughtful discussions and share their insights. It's a place where everyone is welcome, where respect and camaraderie are the name of the game. And when you join our Discord community, you'll find yourself surrounded by like-minded individuals, all eager to dive deep into the world of cinema. And of course, let's not forget the value of membership. Just like a good bouncer knows the importance of a cover charge, a true film lover understands that $5 a month or $55 for the year is a small price to pay for access to this incredible community and all the perks that come with it. So there you have it, folks. 3 rules to live by. 3 rules that'll ensure you get the most out of your membership with the Next Reel. And just like I tell my boys at the Double Deuce, when you find something special, something worth being part of, you hold on tight and never let it go. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to truestory.fm/join and sign on the dotted line. Because when you're a member of the Next Reel, you're not just a spectator. You're a part of their vibrant, passionate community of film lovers, all eager to share in the magic of the movies.
Just like I tell my boys at the Double Deuce. I think you could have done that callback 3 or 4 more times, and it would have been absolutely perfect. Letterboxd, Andy. Letterboxd. This is where we take our stars and we put them against movies. And as you know, we are absolutely zealous about making sure that there is a finite number of stars. And so, how would you like to put your stars today?
That's the royal we that you're talking about there.
Zealous.
You and you alone. You and you alone.
We together are zealots.
We meaning you and yourself.
And Andy. Together are zealots.
I had so much fun with this movie. Like, I just want to say 5 stars is awesome. I don't think I'm going to go quite that crazy. But I did have a blast with it. I'm going to give it 4 stars and a heart is where I'm going to sit with this one.
It could go up, though. I'm saying
it could go up.
It could go up. It could go up. Because again, does the movie succeed in what it is trying to do? Yes, it does. It does so very well. But I too am with you at 4 stars and a heart. Maybe
excellent.
Those 2 4 stars should average up on our collective.
It's 8. Let's just you don't average it. You add it. Add it together.
8 out of 5.
I'm sure that's a thing. That's not a thing. No, this will be 4 stars and a heart over at our account on Letterboxd, which is at the Next Reel.
Over
There's
an
like
account
five
on
words that
Lexington.
five words trying to come out of my mouth at once. That'll be 4 stars and a heart over at our account on Letterboxd, which is at the next reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film. You can find Pete there at Pete Wright. I broke you.
It's not my line. It's yours.
What?
Now you're supposed to say how did it work for you. What did you think about it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel.
Is it?
Yeah.
God, I am like all over the place. All right.
Episode 7,000 today, ladies and gentlemen. 7,000 of this podcast.
All right. Well, that will average out to 4 stars and a heart over at our account. Over at our account at Letterboxd, which is at the next reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film. You can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So what did you think about, see, I got it now. So what did you think about Roadhouse? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth. Man, Letterboxd giveth. Letterboxd overfloweth.
Overfloweth this time. Man.
Yeah.
What do you got? And if you have to do a couple, go ahead. Some of them are short and awesome.
Yeah. Michael Strensky's 4.5. This is the Great Gatsby of the 1980s. Love that one.
Yes, it is.
Brian Espitia wrote 5 stars and a heart. A movie that only asks you to believe in the power of blue jeans, rock and roll, and Patrick Swayze's magnificent hair.
It is magnificent hair.
Truly is.
Wes has a 5 star and a heart that says this movie could kill a Victorian era child. I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. But my favorite one is Patrick Willems, 3.5 stars. In 1989, a man named Rowdy directed the movie Roadhouse, finally fulfilling his destiny. That's right. Rowdy, the aptonymically named director of Roadhouse. Celebrate that all damn day.
Perfect.
Thanks, Letterboxd.